if we could go through this rather quickly. Obviously, on a contractor's perspective, there's some challenges because I'm dealing with a multitude, or we are dealing with a multitude of sustainability perspectives that are all out there. And it gets rather redundant, but it also gets rather crazy in trying to figure out who's on first and where we need to go on second. So the old saying goes from the United States is, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So let me go on with this. First of all, can anybody tell me what country in the world that is the most diversified in sustainability? Anybody? What I found, am I projecting? The Emirates. We have collected, what I've seen through our tender department, through procurement, we've collected about every organization. There's 23 that we've recognized that deals with sustainability. Whether it's sustainability coming in from China, whether it's CASPI, whether it's something to do with the Forest Council, if it's something with Green Star, BREEAM. We have the Canadians with their system. So when we go after a project and we need to talk to a consultant, their perspective, they might adopt whatever they would like to adopt, what they're familiar with, because we don't have a system that's in place. We have the 7 Emirates. We should be united. We should have a unity, something that is correlated all together in one system. We're very argument. You go to Abu Dhabi, you have the Environment Agency. They're excellent. They provide some excellent opportunities and information. We're building 3 airflow Belgium aluminum plants in Abu Dhabi. We find out that we need a third-party environmentalist to do the study out on site. Now, I talked to the third-party environmentalists. They are key selectors. There's about 11 of them. I think there's 15 now that have been selected through the Environment Agency. Now, I talk to the guy and say, okay, you give me your environmental report, but then what do you do with it? He sends it to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the United States, and they do an assessment on it. So I'm thinking, why can't our Emirati universities, why can't these professors implement it into their system and let the people from the Emirates do the investigation work? Keep the money inside the country. You know, we're looking at, when we go and look at tender a project for LEED, there's certain certifications, points that you have to obtain, different from point requirements that BREEAM does. And let's not talk about the documentation. There's thousands of documents that we have to fill in. Now, what we've tried to do across the group is say, how do we set up standards that are going to actually be adopted during our resource, so it's less on the architect, less on the consultant, that we actually adopt automatic standards that will obtain those points. Just bring it as part of our process. We have 15,000 employees. We're an entire city in ourselves, and we're out of Al-Ain, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. It's crazy. Now, when you're talking about all these companies, I mean, all these environmental organizations that come in together, you're also talking about code compliances. Now, each one of these code compliances are starting to adopt their systems within their code requirements. If you're doing FEDIC, if you're doing ICC, you know, they're starting to, I know ICC right here for Abu Dhabi is obtaining their, UPC and obtaining, you'll see a little bit of that information coming in later from some of our speakers, but they're trying to implement and fold the system in. But I have 7, when I want to build in Sharjah, I have to do a different system than I do when I'm in Abu Dhabi. When I'm trying to create a waste segregation plan and bring it out to the masses, we have to take a look at a project and we have to say, okay, what do we get? We can't segregate this. We can do it over here, but is it going to cost Al Fara'a 10 million dirhams to segregate one truck? Is it in our best interest? Or any contractors for that matter? So when we're looking at ASTM and NFPA, we're looking at some of these associations that are starting to regulate, seeing what they want to pick and choose. What I'm saying is that we've adopted building codes from everybody else, just like we've adopted all these other procedures from everyone else. Why can't we come one simplified system? I can make it more efficient. My tendering is going to be more easier. If I have inert materials, we can start picking this up slowly. Let's just make a system that's 20 points. It doesn't have to be 30, 50, 60, A, B, C, platinum, gold, pearl. So this is some of the frustrations that I get when I'm trying to help each of our divisions and what we need to do to try to score up and how that's happening. Now, I looked at the federal municipality civil defense. Okay, what we've done is we're trying to implement ISO procedures, and I head up the ISO 14001. Yes, HSE is combined together, but we needed to segregate that because according to ISO, they're next. Who's on first? What role does a project manager, a construction manager? How do we build up to a relationship of knowing what we need to do to collect these points? So on your own personal time, I'm going to just rush through this, but on your own personal time, read this. These are the answers that I've given. And some of these answers are very, very, they stick out, you know, on the impacts, the steps of collecting each one of those points. Because it's important for a contractor to know, for an architect and to a consultant, that, you know, it's important for you guys to know that it relieves the burden that when we do testing, when we have to, you know, I have a friend of mine that was doing a platinum building in the States. You know what he did? He didn't put on the right respirator when he was applying the adhesives to the building. So he lost that point. You know, some of the trick of the trades is put a bicycle rack out in the front yard. There's another mode of transportation. Contract documentation and design build phase. Interpretation is the biggest thing that we're having right now. With all these codes and there's requirements to put things in. Interpretation. We need to get with the teams and go over and over with this again. I'm going to go quickly so we can all eat. And then collect credit satisfaction evidence. There's a process with our contracting. Any contractor, anybody can use this formula, these three formulas. They are applicable on the 210 processes that we can adopt to whatever building, depending on the consultant that we're using, or that they've, you know, selected what environmental practice that they want to use on that building. And the cost is basic. The cost could be different. What is it? For a platinum building, it's up to $36,000 US, and then I got to go ahead and I got to take out forms, and all the money goes where? It goes overseas somewhere. Can't the money go within the registration right here? Can't we circulate the economy here? That's a lot. It's targeting. We've talked about earlier with some of the key people about remaining useful life and estimated useful life products. And part of our objective is when you're out on the construction site, you have to think about some of these things. You can't just start ordering materials and mobilizations and start setting them out on site, because some of these materials are very high synthetic materials, high technical materials that can be very destructive to itself and or to the environment. So, you know, you're looking at the 5 major resources in construction as you're looking at ground contamination, water contamination, air, noise, pollution, and vibration. So we always have to look at that. We have a building right over here, our Shella Tower, that we're doing. And we're doing dewatering works. And indirectly, it's affecting, as our subcontractor is doing the dewatering work on the pumps. And you can see the slurry being pumped back into the waters. We're trying to control that. We're trying to educate people as we go, even directly and indirectly with other subcontractors. I hope I'm making sense. So what I've come to a conclusion across the group and in construction, ISO 14001 does not have a system